I'm good. Does this mean it's official, Rory? Does this mean it's official?
That's a good question. I don't know what you're holding. I'm sorry. This is just the discovery and Brian White's essentially.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I got to fill mine in. I got it.
Oh, I had one
They
too,
ran it
John
off for
White.
me, so it's good.
Understood.
Well, nothing like being right up to date.
All right, well, my phone says it's 5 o'clock, so I would entertain a motion if someone would be so
I will
kind.
do that. I will do that.
Thank you, sir.
I'd like to make a motion to go into closed session per state statute RSMO 610 .021 1 and 3.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second.
She needs to do a roll call, doesn't she?
Yeah,
Hold, please.
Hold, please.
I can take the notes if you'd like.
That would be great.
Okay, so, all right, Councilmember Swanson, absent. Councilmember Brazel, absent. Councilmember Hammond.
Yeah.
Councilmember Hollander.
Yes.
Councilmember York.
Yes.
Councilmember Baker.
Yes.
And Councilmember Elam.
Excuse me.
Yes. It's all right. I get skipped just like being at home. All right, so we're in closed session. We'll see you afterward.
Okay.
Yeah.
He did. He did.
come out of closed session.
Motion coming out of closed session.
Motion
Second.
here, second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Closed session is done, so we're gonna take 9 minutes before we get back and we start doing budget. So hold tight. Smoke them if you got them. Can you do that anymore? Not in the building. Yeah.
All right.
Kevin Colleen's here, so we can start. That's what we were, just kidding, man. All right, so this is our first budget hearing of the year, work session that we are doing for the 2026 recommended budget for St. Charles County. I know everybody's had the budget for a little while and had an opportunity to go through it. Some of us sent some questions in. I know Mr. Baker, Mr. Swans, and myself, we sent those in. I thought to get us started, we would give administration an opportunity to just kind of walk through those questions, and we can get those answers of what's already been submitted. And then if anybody has anything in particular that you want to talk about, we're going to go from there. Michelle McBride is the only elected official, right, Claire, that has expressed interest in coming to talk. She could not make tonight's meeting, so she wants to come on next Monday. Good reminder, just so everybody knows, we are back here next Monday, which means anything that gets introduced tonight, and we can talk about this some more, but anything that gets introduced tonight cannot be passed next Monday because we will not have enough time in between the readings for it to be passed. So anything that gets introduced tonight will have to be held over in terms of getting passed until the next meeting in December, which I believe is the 15th. So with that, Joanne, how do you want to start going through? Who do you want to take point?
Well, I think probably, Mike, we need to have you come up and join us. And Bob's here, and so Brian and Rob are also here. So what we thought we'd do is kind of go down through the questions. As you and I talked, maybe that's a place, but if the council's like, nah, we read that, move on, we'll just keep moving.
I would say if we have questions about any of these answers, we ought to talk about, but I don't think we need to go through all of them.
Okay,
Yeah, why
if
don't
you've
you
had
just
time
tell
to
us
review.
what you need more clarity?
You want
That'd be fine.
you want to start first, Mr. Baker, then?
I've got plenty of stuff to talk about.
Just do me a favor and pull that mic down.
I will do that.
Bob, why don't you and Mike go to those mics?
So on page 160, so I'll start with the hard part, 166
On the budget.
on the budget. We have $650,000 allocated to the Lake St. Louis Boulevard Extension Project, which ironically is the amount of money I believe I need for my sound wall, which is $100,000 for engineering and $550,000 for construction, which I believe that construction cost was relayed to me from Amanda. I would like to move that money and add it to the sound wall on Norwood Court.
I think you said 160. You said 166, Sam?
Page 166.
Okay. What's that?
So, Mr. Chairman, can I just
Yes, ma'am.
clarify something? And so, I take it from the councilman's question, that's something you guys are going to debate policy-wise, because this isn't actually a document that can be amended before you. This is the budget as we submitted it, and that would actually be an amendment when you have the bill introduced next week.
And so that will be in next week's meeting.
Or the one after that.
Can we vote on the amendment?
Tonight? You don't have anything to amend tonight. This is a recommended budget in front of you. The actual bill will be introduced next Monday, the 1st.
So I have to make the motion then?
Make the motion then,
Well,
or the next
on
week.
the
No,
first?
Joanne, normally they vote on the amendment at the second meeting in December, or they vote on the bill at the second meeting.
They normally vote on the bill. There have very few times ever been
Yeah, I mean,
amendments the first
it's like you
meeting.
usually don't vote when we first read something, usually
Well,
don't
sure,
vote on
but-
it, we'll wait until the next, but I mean,
But
So, Mr. Baker,
Yeah.
let Mr. Summer weigh in on this real quick.
Sure, and I just want to remind the county council that this is a work session, so there'd be no voting tonight.
Right.
Same way with next
You
week's.
can't vote during a work session
That's fine,
either.
I understand that.
yeah.
So, so just to clarify, I have to make that motion on the 1st or the?
No, you don't have to make it the first. You can make it as part of the final bill passage at the second meeting.
But
The 15th.
again, you may not know what the final bill is, because usually after we have this discussion between the first and the second meeting, there's always something somebody finds that we have to do a substitute on the last day, and then that's what you would,
Because
amend.
what I envisioned is we talk about these things.
You
and
can
then-
talk about it all you want, you
and-
just can't vote on it now.
Well, right, well,
Yeah.
and then the tip gets amended and we vote on it, or we vote it down, or we make changes. I mean, is
Yeah.
that, okay.
And remember also that the tip and the budget, while they coordinate, they are separate bills.
Okay.
Mr. Snurk.
And so so everybody's clear, the recommended budget you got at the beginning of November, when we get to the introduction of the final budget ordinance, you're going to get a chance then to begin moderating on the budget.
Okay.
But you're going to get, before final passage of the budget, a revised budget document that will show you any changes that have taken place from late October until the time that this bill gets voted on in December. We normally furnish the council with a summary of changes and updates, personnel changes, all kinds of different things that you'll see that will take you from the document you already have to the document that would be voted on for introduction and then final passage.
If you
Now-
have
but-
questions about that procedure,
I do.
well, let us know.
I
We'll
do,
take-
so-
We'll explain it again.
Okay.
Now, as I understand it, though, right now, we could discuss the merits or non-merits
Right.
of his proposal.
Right, that's the purpose of what
And
we're
if-
doing
if
here.
6 of them say no, then we can move on off the
Right,
subject.
I wasn't trying to stop any discussion about the merits of
No, I-
that between you all. That's what this is for.
Okay, I just don't, because I just don't understand. I mean, I know we can't officially vote on anything,
Right.
but I thought we could get a consensus of how we like the tip.
We can.
amended. We can?
Right.
We can.
Okay,
Yes.
Yeah.
To what Bob was just saying, we can discuss that now.
yeah.
So if we're looking at, I would suggest that we start by, you brought up page 166. I would suggest that we start looking at what do you want to remove before we start talking about where do you want to move it to. So I think it's good to start, is that fair to say?
This is your work session, we're just here to answer questions, so.
But I appreciate that, but before you let me get
But-
too far down the road and in trouble.
Yeah, right.
Then, I think if we're talking about what is the money that you want to move from the budget on page 166?
As I mentioned, the 650,000 from the Lake St. Louis Boulevard extension, I guess it's account number, what, 86021, or 021?
Correct.
Now, feeding off that, I would like maybe Amanda or somebody from the administration to discuss the, quote, importance, non-importance, necessity of the Lake St. Louis Boulevard extension.
I'm
Mr.
ready
Owen.
to do that if you want me to.
Well, I mean, just because we're moving it out of the budget, they're not saying we don't think it's important.
Well, no,
and- Yeah.
I'm just trying to
I
get
mean-
an idea how important.
Yeah, I've got just a 2-minute thing.
Let's go. Works for me.
Put it in perspective. Kevin, I assume the people in the back know this is what I'm gonna need them to do.
If they don't, they're about to.
It just, while we're waiting, the way I look at it is we have a lot of constituents that don't want this project, and I have constituents that do want a project. So, it's a win-win situation. Again, I'm not speaking of the merits of the project. I'm just speaking for what constituents, how we look at it.
All right, here it is, and I just want to give you a little historic perspective on this. Really what the road board's been doing the last 40 years is creating a grid. In the initial, go to the, how do I go forward on this? Press down. Huh? Press down. Press down where?
Other one.
This one. Just the down arrow.
Oh, on the bottom?
He hit right click on the mouse. Hit the other side. There you go. Now you go.
Just that
Is, no, it's,
that one.
go back. Yeah, but this is the fourth one. I want to,
Keep going.
They had started to show.
Can they take him back to the,
There you go, now it goes, that's it, Steve.
okay, historically, what we had in St. Charles County going back to the early statehood is a lot of east-west corridors, okay? You know, of course, Highway 40 and Highway 70, that was only put in the 1920s. Before that, it was Mexico Road, which was the main east-west that, of course, went to Mexico. So all those pioneers that wanted to go, you know, to central Missouri could go that way. Down at the bottom, you see Highway N, that's the old Boonslick Trail, okay? And even 94, before it goes south towards Marthasville, basically was east-west and then continued out all the way to the Boonslick. Up on the top, that's Highway P today, but that was the Salt River Road. And it went all the way up north to Salt River in, was that Pike County or Rawls County? I'm not sure which one. But anyway, that's, you know, historically, we've had all these east-west, we've had all these east-west thoroughfares. Then we went ahead and got, the voters approved the tax to do the road board. And what we needed was, people in St. Charles weren't headed west, they were living here. And they not only needed to get from St. Louis out here on the east-west, but they needed to go north and south to get to their neighborhood. And this just gives you some idea. These are all the road board projects the last 40 years. The ones in blue are already done. The ones in red are planned, including the Lake St. Louis Boulevard, if you all decide to proceed with that. So when you connected the road board projects with the existing roads, this is what we have. And you can start on the right hand there. That first one, that's Elm Street, St. Charles. And the next one is Friedens Road, and the next one is Zoombell Road, and then you got Youngerman Road, and I'm not sure what the next, Mid Rivers, and then Highway 79, and then Highway K, most of which, that was the one north-south that's been here the longest, but we've made improvements to that. The next one is, gee, what would that next one be? Yeah, okay, yeah, Bryan Road. And then the next one, of course, if you look up at the top, you know, you got Guthrie Road, it crosses Highway 70. Of course, we couldn't build a bridge across the lake, so it had to go around the lake. But then it goes south on the other side of I-64 to connect into, what is that, Highway DD, when we get the last section there, which is Lake St. Louis Boulevard. So whatever you decide about Lake St. Louis Boulevard, you know, I guess what I'm saying, you may delay it, but it's something we need to do. It's something we need to do eventually, because all those people down the Highway DD, it's just going to be a whole lot easier for them if that connection is made when they need to go north-south. And then, of course, you know, we're going to have, in the future, we're going to have to do the same thing as we go west, and more subdivisions are built, and again, the people need to have those north-south connectors. And this just shows you the same thing, and you know, kind of lays out the thing. So I know you're wondering, well, you know, why do we do this, or why do we do that, or why did we come up with this idea in the first place? That's why. That's why, because we wanted another, and that will, you know, right now it's not going to get as much usage as it will in the future. But as more development goes on in that area, I think we need that connector in the long run. Now, you know, we put it in there because we're supporting it. You'll have a debate and you'll do what you'll do. And I personally, if you don't want to do Lake St. Louis Boulevard, I suggest we take the money and put it towards Highway N and try to get that, give it to MoDOT and hopefully get that project finished.
But we
quicker.
have $22.5 million in the budget.
I know, yeah.
I mean, how much do we need to? for
I said I
highway?
prefer.
Huh? What?
How much do we need?
Yeah.
100 million?
Is that the cost?
That's, well, I don't know if,
That's,
Rob, what, you showed me some numbers
80 to
today.
100 million to get it to Perry Kate.
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
sounds.
And you had four possible,
thanks, Brian.
just tell them what you showed me today.
Yeah, according to the MoDOT estimates with engineering, right-of-way purchase, engineering and construction, it was gonna be between an 80 and $100 million project to get it from where it sits now to extend Highway N to Guthrie Road. I asked Amanda to also look at some other potential projects where we could divert money or push off projects a little bit and move money. And they included Dyer Road, Lake St. Louis Boulevard, Interstate Drive Extension to T, and the I-70 North Service Road to Zumbel. And with those projects, we could potentially put $68,574,000 towards our share, which would be 50% of
How much is
$100
it,
million.
Rob?
$68,574,508. And our share of that
And one
project would be-
that I've been in favor of for at least a year is the service road out here on I-70. I think we can do without that. It's much more important to get this Highway N finished.
I
'cause
totally
that's-
agree. There's
That's,
no one in my district or your districts ever even brought that up to me.
yeah,
Why, it's not built? Well,
yeah.
nobody asked because nobody really cares about
Yeah.
it, to be honest with you.
I saw it on What's Up St. Charles or something like that. Somebody mentioned, and they had the picture of I-70, and they said that this was something that was going, or where was it? They didn't know where it was. It was something that had been approved a couple years ago.
They would do
and
what
then-
they did between Fairgrounds and 94. It would just be
Right.
that same sort of thing between 94 and Zumbel Road.
Right.
So
Well,
it would
they-
be it would be a safer thing for on and off,
Mm-hmm.
but quite frankly, compared to the growth in the western part of the county, I think
Oh, I
that money
totally
could be
agree.
better spent out
I
there.
totally agree. It's just, I asked Amanda about it because it came up to me that, you know, where is it? You know, somebody in the community wanted to know, oh, this was promised a couple years ago,
Okay.
where is it?
So, I mean, if that's what you
that's-
want to do, and you want to delay that project, that's fine. Now, then you need to decide whether you want to do with what Mr. Baker wants to do with it, or something else.
Well, let me bring up,
It's
let me
not-
bring up something.
The I-70 stuff is already out of the budget, so
Right.
that's,
I was gonna say
that's
that.
not in there to move. I just wanted everybody to
The
understand.
I-70 is out already?
It's already taken out.
So if 100 million is what the cost is.
Well, our share would be 50 million.
All right, but you just said 68 million.
That's how much these projects could divert, yes.
Yeah,
So-
I don't,
Everything that he just mentioned got moved. it
Okay,
would
well,
total
I'm
up
just
to-
saying.
I don't think we need to do half of it, but whatever.
Yeah, and, you know, paying for a $650,000 sound wall, which is, I understand, a MoDOT responsibility, but they're not doing it, versus 50 million for a MoDOT project that they're not doing it because they're shirking their responsibility. I mean, I have a little bit of heartburn with that. I mean, in reality, we shouldn't be paying for any of it. But we are.
That's the important part, and if it's needed, fine. But my prediction is, if we went and looked at a whole bunch of other situations similar to that, they would need it just as much or more.
Are you talking
So
about sound
that's-
wall or?
Yeah, sound walls.
Okay.
I mean, you know where Mark Twain, at Mark Twain subdivision, all those houses are right, their backyard's right up against the service road, and then there's a 6-lane instead of a 4-lane road, and then there's another service road on the other side, and then like St. Charles Hills, they have the same thing. So My,
And I
my
can't speak-
question is, if we do what you want to do for that one section, are we going to have to then do it for everybody else that's similarly situated?
Maybe.
And if it was our road, it'd be one thing, but it's MoDOT's road, and.
But I don't know I don't know if those examples you mentioned compare to, I'm only familiar with my sound.
I know.
Where
We're gonna,
these people have they did a decibel reading out there, 89.9, and it wasn't even rush hour.
I know.
I mean, 85, you get hearing loss. So, I mean,
Well-
people can say, well, they bought there, they knew there was a highway there. They didn't know it was gonna be that loud. I mean, nobody looks at a house.
do they
along-
think it's getting louder?
It's absolutely getting louder
Because there's more people?
there's more traffic.
Or more traffic?
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, but at 5 o'clock, it stopped.
Well, but at about 9 o'clock, it speeds up because there's, no traffic.
We'll get some numbers,
Yeah,
and you all can make an intelligent decision on this. We just want to make sure that you understand, if you do what Mr. Baker wants to do, and he's doing a good job of representing his constituents, but if you do that, it's going to be hard to explain why we can't do it here, and here as well.
All right, let's get Mr. Hollander's feedback, then Mr. Brazel.
Reading what I have read on the news and all, MoDOT's explanation of this is really pretty crappy. The study was done in 2013.
13, 14.
That's 10, 12 years ago, and that road was pretty new. Now, with the county growing by 40 or 50,000 people since then, I'm sure that study, if they would compare to when they did it then and when they do it now, would be far, far different. You don't think so?
I can't even get them to do a study.
Yeah.
I can explain how it works.
She can come up if you like and explain the details. My understanding is the formula that they use, this area qualified in terms of how close it was
How loud it was.
and how loud it was, but the houses are so far apart, it means the wall gets so expensive per house that they have a,
And I don't
We have
care,
a
I don't care
business
about that.
analysis that's on
They have a
every
formula.
single project.
I don't care.
I'll let Amanda.
Hey,
So-
hang on, before you do that.
Yeah.
Mr. Brazel wanted to say something.
Oh, go ahead.
Pull that mic up, if you would, Joe.
I was going to say a couple things. On the Lake St. Louis Boulevard, I'm not so sure that's so important or not. I mean, we're talking about an area that's supposed to be 3 and 5 acre lots, and it's a boulevard going to nowhere. Is it needed in the future? Maybe. I don't know. But I do know that everybody in those subdivisions don't want it. I know that for certain. The other thing is what Tim's deal is on the wall. A lot of those folks live there, and then they built the highway, right, Tim? I mean,
Those homes were
houses-
there before the highway.
yeah, those homes are there, and so when we have this kind of growth and we have these necessary highways that are built, it's kind of like, it's really shame on the lobbyists in Jeff City that doesn't require MoDOT to put these sound walls on, because you're totally screwing these people over, totally screwing them over. And they didn't buy it knowing there's going to be a highway there. Then all of a sudden there's a highway, just like the creek things, when these houses are falling in the creeks. There wasn't this much growth out here. And I know we don't have a sewer district, but still, it's like there's some obligation from government due to the growth. And so this is a little different, I think, the sound wall thing.
Can I,
explain
yeah.
more about the
So
sound wall.
first of all, only 2 of the people that live there now lived there when the road was built.
I don't care.
Okay, I'm just saying, we
you
looked
move
at the
next to a
sales
house-
records.
Let her
Hang
talk
on, if you
first.
move next to a house and those people start to play the drums at night, you don't expect that, but that happens. These people didn't buy this house expecting the noise
There
level
was
to
a
be like
4-lane
this.
road highway.
let's
I
not blame the
get it.
folks.
I get what you're saying, but, okay, so noise studies, this is how they work. It is a federal requirement and a federal guidance. MoDOT follows these rules that are set out. These rules change every so often, but not very often. Currently, the rule is a little bit different than it was when that wall was built, and I actually went back and recalculated, and the wall does still not meet the requirement. So, the first requirement is a reasonableness requirement. No. Yes. A reasonableness requirement, and that is the noise over the level that makes it a required, like it's 65 decibels? No, it's 71 decibels. And once it is shown that it is over that, you must have a wall that's under 18 foot high that will reduce it by at least 7 decibels, okay? So they met that requirement. They were over the threshold based on a model. Like, it's all modeled because obviously the road is in place when they do this, and they don't ever go back out and measure. So that's, some people kind of disagree with that, but that's how it's done.
It is what it is.
That is what it is. So the next requirement is a feasibleness. And the feasible is it a certain amount, does it benefit a certain amount of receptors per square footage of the wall? It used to be a cost, but now it's a square footage. I think it's 13,000 square foot per benefited receptor. So each home is a benefited receptor. The wall that you have to build for this location is twice as much as is allowed. And that is the problem. And these are all over the county and all over St. Louis County. There are people along 270 that would love sound walls. There are people along Page Olive Connector that would love sound walls. I worked on that project. I was the sound wall designer, and I had to go to court over it. They didn't win. The county was sued because they didn't put a wall in, and the county followed every requirement, and that is what saved them from being sued. So that is my concern, is that if we start doing this, we're gonna have to do this everywhere, and that doesn't seem like a good idea. And furthermore, the road board was very much did not favor this, because we
you spoke
typically
against
build
it.
roads for areas, for
build them.
communities, not for 10 homes. We don't build local streets. We build connectors and highways that benefit thousands of people.
Yeah, we also give money to Augusta to do overlays and slab
And they
repairs,
have
so.
a lot of visitors and
yeah.
a community
Well,
that
I'm just-
hasn't had any money in years,
Yeah, and.
ever.
Augusta, by the way, Augusta hasn't ever taken any money.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have,
Not in my 25 years.
Yeah.
because
that's
I was on the road board when we gave
What was
them
it,
money.
like 10,000 or something?
I don't, I'm not saying, but whatever.
I think that's actually, wasn't that actually in the road board proposal that 10% of it had to go to rural areas or something like? When this thing was put together 40 years ago, they tried to make sure that everybody had something in it. In fact, Wentzville didn't have anything in it, so they went ahead and built what became Wentzville Parkway. They built it out in a cornfield. There was nothing there. Dave remembers that, I'm sure.
Well, real quick on the sound wall, they did a decibel study at the sound wall that was constructed off Gudermuth Road, the off-ramp, and it was 51. So, and there's new homes. I don't know if there's villas or whatnot that's right there on the off-ramp. So 51, they get a sound wall. 89, these people don't. I mean, I know feasibility, I understand that, but explain that to the people that live down there, they don't care. I mean,
I feel for them.
Okay.
I do. I understand. I have to be objective. That's my job.
So explain to me, what are the expectations of, let's say Mr. Baker gets the sound wall built in that area. What are the expectations those people should expect if they did have a sound wall? Would it solve their problem, or would it move the problem?
It would reduce the sound. It doesn't move the problem. It would reduce the sound level, not to 56 decibels. I'm not even sure how that's feasible anywhere. It would reduce it to around 60, likely, maybe a little more than that.
Okay, because I have an area over by the Guttermouth exit that is very similar to Mr. Baker's. And Mr. Greipsue and the MoDOT engineer, Andy and I, all went out there. And everything that Tim has talked about on the news is exactly the same thing. I mean, you can't use their backyard. It's loud as it could be, especially when the little, suicide junkies come riding along on the motorcycles, just, and it just cuts through your house.
Yes.
You like that, do you? That's my built-in sound effect. So it sounds just like that. It's really annoying. So if you're standing in their backyard,
Obviously
you just...
not a Harley.
No, not a Harley.
Obviously not a Harley.
Harley's probably better than this, because a Harley is a different sound. But Andy had said, if you did build a sound wall there, that the sound works like water, and it'll hit that wall, it'll go over the wall, and while it'll give those people relief, it will create a problem now for the people who don't have a problem behind them. They are all of a sudden going to get hit with all this sound that they didn't have before, to where you've got 4 to 5 houses right next to the road now that's really bad. You were going to dump that in, and you would have 20, 30, 40 houses that were going to be affected. Is that fair?
Yes, especially if they sit higher.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fair.
All right. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, for whatever it's worth, I don't remember how many years it was, but long before the road was built there, John Greifsue and Gary Helmstead went to the Cottleville meeting when the developer of those homes that we're talking about in your district here,
Right.
Not Mr. Baker's, they were there before, but when they were being developed, they went and told Cottleville that they need to require the developer to have a wider swath through there, so they wouldn't have this problem. But, you know, of course, the developer didn't want to do that, and instead of Cottleville listening to people who knew something about roads, they listened to the developer and they put it where it is. But they wanted them to move the whole thing back. I forget, another 20 yards or so, something like that. So it's an issue that the county was aware of from the beginning, but we didn't have control over that area. It was in the city of Cottleville, and they're the ones who let the developers build closer, and now there's a problem.
Yeah, while we have you up here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're talking about needing $50 million for the highway end, okay? Let's say that we come up with that money, okay? How much does that speed the project up? Because right now, there's 2 problems I see. One is the amount of money, and probably more important is the time frame of when it can get built. So,
I know it would speed it up at least a year, because I know MoDOT doesn't have funding available until 2029, and we could get it in 2028. If they're finalizing preliminary plans in February or March, and then they'll move on to right-of-way plans, I think right-of-way is our, you know, just, we don't know. We don't know what's gonna happen. We don't know how much there is a good amount of right-of-way. It depends on how easy people are to work with, how many parcels have to go to condemnation, and that can hold up the whole thing. I know Steve has mentioned design build. I love the idea of design build. We have a good concept. I think a contractor would just kind of stick with what we're doing and maybe build it cheaper somehow, using innovation that they can use. But that right-of-way has to all be secured before that can happen. So in that case, it may not speed it up. So I think 2028 is very, very feasible. I think 2027, if things really go great, like we could maybe get there, but we'd have to have a lot of things go our way.
Is there an area you would start, one end or the other, or start in the middle and go both ways? Has that even been looked at?
Designers do traffic control later in the plan set, so I don't think that's been looked at yet. They will kind of, I think the intent, how they're designing it right now, is to leave the 2 lanes in place that are being built from, and then build another 2 lanes to one side or the other, going back and forth. So it's not an even, like 2 on each side. It's kind of goes back and forth because of different things. And then just kind of move traffic that way. It's going to be painful. I would assume it'll be a little bit painful, though.
one more question.
Hang on.
Go ahead.
Dave.
Go ahead.
Yeah, which, one of these items on Josephville Road is for taking out that curb? Is that the 1.4 million?
I don't know. It's phase 1. It's Josephville Road phase 1.
Well,
It also has federal, that project has federal funds as
There's no
well.
phase 1. It's Josephville Road phase 2 and 3.
So it's, is it the one that's just Josephville Road?
It's on what, page 166?
166?
Yeah, just Josephville Road. Yes.
$1,450,000.
Yes,
The 1.4?
yes, that's it.
Well, you could have that money.
I'll take it.
Okay.
Terry?
Yes, and I hate to,
shoot.
kind of belabor the point, but if we're gonna be we're gonna be contributing $50 million to this.
Or donating, it's
Okay.
kind of how it feels.
If, put it this way, if we don't donate the $50 million, okay, does the project stay on the same timeline and we don't pay the money?
They would build little chunks at a time. They would, in 2029, maybe they come up with $20 million. They build Hawks Ridge Trail to Summers Road, and then we continue. And it'd probably be like every 5 years we'd get, it would be,
Okay.
It would be piecemealed together.
it would be piecemealed over a long period of time.
Mr. Elman?
Again, as long as I'm here, we're not paying $50 million to speed it up 1 year.
Right.
But, depending on how much we can speed it up, we'll determine. There's another issue here, and I've talked to several of the mayors about this individually. I talked to East West Gateway and complained about the fact that the city of St. Louis gets more money per capita than we do.
Yep.
You're aware of that, Mr. Chairman. And Jim Wild said it's for one reason, and that's because on all these small projects, they don't ask for a bunch of small projects. They ask for one project, and there's a rule that says everybody has to get one project.
Yep.
Okay?
Yep.
That's what we did to get a quarter of the cost for phase 3 of Page.
Right.
And I guess, we've never done that again, but they started doing it and have been getting more than their fair share. So I've talked to the mayors about if we could go ahead and all the mayors would agree that this year we would ask for one project, and that is on Highway N. And then next year, we would ask for one project, and it'd be on 370 and Salt River Road, which is right in between St. Charles and St. Peter's.
Right.
So in other words, the western folks would get the money 1 year, and then the next year, the eastern end of the county would get it. Now, and again, we would ask for more on one project than we would ask for or be able to ask for in several projects. So there's just a whole lot going on here, and it's something we're going to be talking more about. There's going to be several opportunities. I talked to Tom Blair just last week. I told him the first money we put into this thing was in 2014. In 2014, we here start asking you to give MoDOT money to do planning and environmental and all that kind of stuff. And now it's almost 12 years later. And if this doesn't go on the master plan or go on the STIP next summer, I'm going to be very upset. But it needs to go on, not for 29, for 28 or 27. But stay tuned. It's something we've been working on for a long time. And the problem here is for the longest time, I-70 was a bigger priority than Highway N.
Yep.
And now we got what we're hoping, we're looking for on 70, and N is number one. So I'm willing to give in on some other things, and we can still keep working on the sound wall issue, regardless of what y'all decide to do with the money. But again, I don't know. We can have the lawyers look at, is there any way we can, that the county can sue MoDOT? You're saying, as far as you can tell, they've done everything that the federal law requires them to do. And can the people in the state, to follow up on Mr. Brazel's suggestion, I don't know, can they pass something in Jeff City, saying MoDOT, has to provide more money for sound walls? But the fact of the matter is, most people, at least in growing areas like ours, we like to take that concrete and lay it down and have more roadway than sound walls. But that's just my opinion.
Patty?
Would it be judicial to just put a line item in the budget somewhere along the line for sound walls and maybe fund it a little bit each year, and then as they bubble up to the top, Is that something that
Well, you know,
might
the
help?
thing, I
Even if
planted a
it's
bunch of
matching
shrubs
funds?
in my backyard because I didn't like the view of my neighbors who wasn't cutting his grass and there was weeds and stuff. I planted a bunch of shrubs that were 5 foot high about 10 years ago, and now they're 15 foot high, and they're solid. And I wish the people out there had done that. I think by now, they wouldn't have as big a problem. Now, you know, if we start now, it's gonna take 10 years before the problem's fixed. But it could have been fixed. And maybe we need to look at more often at when we do these road projects. It's relatively cheap to plant some shrubs instead of doing the sound walls.
All right, any other thoughts on Lake St. Louis Boulevard?
Well, I give more thoughts for Amanda since she's up, so.
Okay.
How much, I'm sure we make, projects get delayed, I mean, right-of-way acquisition, whatnot, so every day we're probably making interest money, right? How much are we making daily, or monthly, or quarterly?
I
Mike?
don't know how finance handles our.
And, well, there's a two-part, and is all the money that's anticipated to be collected in 2026, is this all encumbered funds in the current budget?
No,
How much is not encumbered?
I'd have to look. I think I have like 30 million rolling over at the end of 2026 because I put money for Route N in 2026.
Your money is budgeted every year, and any roll that you have from one year to the next is allocated in the following year's budget.
Right,
You're pretty well budgeted out,
yeah,
right?
yeah. Yeah, I budget out through my 3-year tip, but I get what you're saying. There is money sitting there, and every year they give me the interest for last year and tell me what the number was. But I don't know what it is, like how it's,
And every year, there's projects that aren't being completed because we're doing that, which is fine, I understand that. But are we serving our citizens by not trying to obligate more money to encumber all the funds, or anticipated funds?
What are you asking?
Well, I mean, so.
Where are you going with this?
Well, because I'm trying to find money for the sound wall, and it sounds like it's there. Is that a safe?
yeah, I don't think it's a money issue, although it may be more than what I estimated in that thing because I didn't estimate like for somebody coming out, like, you know, the mobilization and stuff. I just did a square footage and a cost, but.
It's fine.
But anyway, yeah.
And I I put 650, and I think 100,000 for engineering and sound studies probably high.
Yeah, yeah.
So, that was just my question, is how much is unencumbered? I mean, if we get 100 million a year, and we only budget 70 million, what's that, the 30 million is the unencumbered? That's the question I'm asking.
It's encumbered though in future years because every year we work for a 3-year tip. So you can
Well,
go ahead.
okay,
Bob.
like, you know, I'll come over here. So, in the 26 budget, on page 162, you will see that there was an estimated fund balance at the end of 2025 of $105 million.
Right.
All of that money, except for $766,000 that you see, which is left as an operating reserve, all of that $105 million has been rolled into a project plan that's part of the 2026 budget. So if you want to drain the fund balance entirely to zero, then you've got $766,000 to work with there.
And where in
Would
here
recommend that.
does the interest take into account? The interest that we're making on
Yes.
money that's not being obligated?
So the way the interest works is that the county has one operating account. So Amanda's budget, your budget, finance's budget, everybody's budget, road and bridge, all operate out of one bank account. So the interest that we earn on our investment portfolio is allocated each month to the departments based upon their pro rata portion of the cash that we have to the total. So if
So whatever that department doesn't use, they get their share of interest.
they get their share of the interest each month.
Okay.
there's not a
Their share
separate-
of interest for 2025 is estimated to be $1.4 million.
So it's all kept in one fund, and those departments have an allocation inside of that fund.
Correct.
Okay.
So,
So how do you have a we have a half-cent transportation tax, that's included in the entire county budget?
yeah,
So, but we
it's
can't
in-
use it for payroll?
it's in its own budget. Budget code 205
Yeah,
is Amanda's department, okay? All of the departments and all the activity for transportation are in Fund 205 that start around page 162, and you see the pages after that, okay? We have one bank account, and all the money goes in there. But when the money goes into our bank account, the half-cent sales tax that we get for the month of October goes to her account in her fund.
So we just track
okay?
it.
And we track it, right. So we get a remittance advice from the state that says we have transportation, we have general fund, we have two of those, we have, you know,
And that money is included in the revenue projections for this?
yes, it is.
It's just not line, there's no line item that calls it out, it's just.
For what?
For the interest that we.
Yes,
And that's.
There is. Page 163 or 164, somewhere around there. Page 164.
Halfway down, interest.
Okay, there it is.
Interest income.
And along that line, we had an actual 2024 of 3.2 and an estimate in 2025 of 1.4. Is that because money's getting obligated faster, or what's the decrease?
Well,
That's an estimate.
we won't know until we finish the year out where
'Cause
we
it's an estimate.
actually.
I know.
And our historic practice has been in most funds is to not recognize the income until the year has closed. And that's why you'll see $1.4 million in the 25 estimate and $3 million in the year before.
But why would you estimate it at 1.4 if the prior year was 3.3? Wouldn't you estimate it at
That's
the
just
same?
that's just based on current trends, and I wasn't involved in the formulation of that number, so I really can't tell you.
Isn't that just called
But-
being conservative?
We take the conservative
that.
route, and we don't recognize interest income like that until the year is closed and we have everything, all 12 months.
Okay.
And I will also
Recognized.
say that my budget in particular is, my estimates are on the low, my estimates of money going to the cities are on the low end, because if I don't roll it over to 2026, I don't have it available in 2026, but if I do roll it over, it's still available in 2025. So I'll make my numbers all match at the end. I won't give any city more than they need, but I'll go with the estimate of what I've already spent, knowing that more is going to come in by the end of the year. Usually the cities don't ask me for their last reimbursement until like March, so they're all done. And I'm scrambling to try to fix the tip so it has the right numbers. So
Thank you.
next year, when you see my actuals, they'll be much higher than what's in the budget right now.
Anybody have a question for Amanda? Thank you.
Okay.
So, Mr. Baker was asking about moving the money from Lake St. Louis Boulevard. Does anybody have heartburn about that?
Can we move it out? You talk about pushing it out to
Correct.
2027 or something? 2028?
I'll go for a recommendation that we can talk with finance about how we want to do that, but, Joe, you good with,
Pushing it out, yes.
yeah, all right.
Yeah,
So-
I support him too.
Yes.
Okay.
Can't vote.
Next topic, since that took 50 minutes. Anybody want to talk about anything besides Lake St. Louis Boulevard in the budget?
Well, Mr. Baker's up again, I guess.
Okay, let's go.
Last year in our budget, we had, I'm trying to find my notes here, bear with me. Oh, page 158, we had stormwater replacement we spent 7.9 million, and this year it's 650,000. So I guess my question is, we've got all these stormwater studies, Cinnamon Hills, St. Peter's Howell. are we just going to take these studies and put them on a shelf and just say, hey, we spent money on a study and now we're not going to do any improvements? I mean, I don't understand why there's no money budgeted for stormwater, especially if we've got stormwater projects that's being designed. I mean, it just doesn't seem like it makes a whole lot of sense. So what's our plan, I guess, my question. Rob, do you know?
Are those numbers correct, Bob?
Oh.
Or where are they?
What page number?
158.
158.
Stormwater replacement?
Yep.
Correct.
That number one.
So,
Go ahead.
What's that?
I think the primary reason the number went down is the number was so high before because of the money we got for the heritage buyouts.
We got 2.5.
Yeah, which we're not getting again.
Well, but you do the math and it's still not, I mean, we're still not equating. If we take 2.5 from 8.7,
Yeah, that's part of the reason it's low.
6.2.
Do we know what we were spending though before we got the extra money for Heritage?
Well, we
I'd
were
have to look.
320 and 460 in 23 and 24.
Right.
So to go from 320, 460, get rid of those special funds that we got in 25, you're at 650, which is still $200,000 more than we were 2 years ago.
But we only got 2.5 million last year.
Yeah,
Well,
so,
we got that from the state, but go ahead.
yeah, I was just gonna say, 650 is the amount that was requested by Road and Bridge, and as Mr. Elam mentioned, that probably is in line. What we can do is get you the detail of that 7.9 million that we're estimating for 2025.
Okay.
To show you what that is.
But I'm still looking for an answer on, we got these stormwater studies. What are we going to do with them when we get, I mean, we're going to get recommendations on how we address these problems that we have in my district. I mean, and this is, again, this is a quality of life issue with these folks where every time it rains, they can't sleep at night. And I'm still on believe that some of the problems and a lot of the problems that we have in this county is because we allowed home builders and developers to get away with very poor design. So I think we bear some responsibility, and I'd like to know, again, what are we going to do once we get those studies complete?
I think part of the studies also included cost estimates. So I think we're waiting to hear what needs to be done and how much it's going to cost.
Okay, and unfortunately, because I was told those were going to be done in November in time for the budget. Now I'm told it's not till March. So,
Yeah, I don't
so
know the
now we have to
timeline.
wait another year to budget it, to know I mean, we
Potentially.
should be able to get some idea at this point from those studies.
We could still put money in there.
Yeah, I mean, I think we need to. I mean, I just.
Next item? Let's go someone new this time.
If I could ask a question, first of all, I want to really thank Mike and Matt particularly, because you asked all the same questions I wanted, and Tim, to come up with some really good questions, and for the staff to really do a good job explaining them. I have a couple that are kind of, I think, easy to answer, and on page 6, on fees, licenses, and permits, there's one called cost allocation for $3.47 million. Cost allocation of what?
What is it?
It's called cost allocation.
Right.
That's license and fees and permits. What is that?
Cost allocation is, oh, go ahead. There's the master of cost allocation.
There we go.
So departments in county government, like finance, HR, counselor's office, are departments that, IS is another one, another big one, that provide centralized services to all departments. So the non-general fund departments, like road and bridge, transportation, parks is a big one. All those employees are supported by the general fund. So a number of years ago, probably 10, 12 years ago, we used to have a flat percentage of whatever your revenues were, we charge you 1% of your revenues, and that's what you reimburse the general fund for the support. It wasn't very equitable, and as our numbers got bigger, the 1% got bigger. It wasn't really proportionate to a department like Amanda in transportation, where there's only 1 or 2 employees, 3 employees, and getting charged 1% of $50 million a year, right?
Those
So
are good employees, though.
we embarked on a new process, a cost allocation plan. So each year, HR, finance, IS, those support departments, counselor's office, all submit, communications I believe is one as well, all submit data on what their personnel did and what departments they supported. And it's allocated on a pretty rigorous schedule. So in finance, for example, it's completed every year, and I'm familiar with that one. All of our employees were ranked out based on the functions they have inside the department, what departments get charged for those services. So at the end, this cost allocation study takes all the costs of all the support departments and allocates those to their own department as well, and we don't do anything with that. But the remainder is charged in this cost allocation number that Councilwoman York is talking about. So that's a charge from the non-general revenue departments that comes back to the general fund for these non-general fund departments paying for the services they receive from the general fund.
So is that listed out on each of the other departments that you
Yes.
talked about, for example, parks?
Yeah, you'll see a cost allocation expense in each of those
In each
other
of those.
non-general revenue departments.
Okay, so theirs is an expense, this showed-
Revenue. Revenue in the general
Revenue.
fund.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Mr. Swanson?
Maybe one more.
Honestly, submitted over 30 questions. They've all been answered, and I followed up with any other questions I had, so I'm content right now.
It's good to know.
Okay.
Content,
I
what
thank
a great
staff
word.
for answering all of them so thoroughly.
Patty?
I was just going to ask what the, on page 7, the federal land lease is a revenue source. Are they leasing something from us? The feds? It's 33120 on page 7 under intergovernmental revenue. Third one down. And it's estimated every year.
Yeah, it's my understanding that is flood grant money that we're receiving as a county.
Just grant money, okay. They're not leasing anything from us.
It's not recurring.
It shows in here,
Well, we get some, but it's not recurring in that dollar amount.
okay. Gotcha, thank you.
Mr. Baker?
Am I allowed to ask another question yet?
I just wanted to make sure everybody had an
no, that's
opportunity,
fair.
unless there's somebody else who has something that you want to ask.
Oh, that's fair.
Yeah, I got
It's all
one. You
yours.
go ahead, I
Okay,
got
so
one more.
on page 372, the family arena, the revenue is projected at 10.4 roughly, with expenses of 11.6. And I sent us an email, Joan, thank you, but can we not get naming rights sold on that? I mean, the family arena, it sounds great, but
The only interest we've had in naming rights to this point have been pretty minimal. But we do have an RFP that is in process right now.
Perfect.
To hire a firm that would solicit on a more comprehensive basis, and people who are familiar with that field, to see if there's any prospects out there that we could.
good, I like that idea.
Yeah.
So, thank you.
Okay.
Other thoughts? I know you have more.
Well, I'll let somebody else speak.
I'm kind of with Mr. Swanson. I asked my questions, they answered my questions, so I really don't have a lot to go back with right now, which is kind of why I wanted to submit those early and ask, and kind of go through those, so.
This is one that's pretty much over with, but it was under that same thing, page 372, on the family arena, transfer from shuttered venue, and then 2024 was 2.5 million, and then we don't even have anything budgeted after that. What was that?
Hello.
It was COVID.
When COVID hit, public venues like movie theaters, sports arenas all shut down. Okay, so the federal government came up with a grant that was called the Shuttered Venue Operators Grant. And the grant consisted essentially of taking 60% of your revenues from the preceding year, the last full operating year before COVID. And so we received 60% of our revenues from the preceding year, which I believe was somewhere in the area of about $3.3 million total. We had this program going on with Family Arena of things that we needed to do between the CARES Act money and the ARPA money, and doing legacy type projects with some of that money. So the HVAC system, the roof, a number of the parking lot, a number of things inside the building and outside the building. We're done with this ARPA money and the CARES Act money. The Shuttered Venue Operators Grant was largely dedicated as $3.3 million roughly, and that kind of went into the pot. That helped cover the costs of projects that ARPA and CARES would not cover. So namely the seats and the video boards. So, but that was a short-term project, and that has been fully closed out now with the federal government. It closed out about a year ago.
I saw that, but I just was wondering what that was. So,
Yeah.
thank you.
And Councilwoman, I will brag on Bob a little bit on this one. We got very short notice, like days to apply. And he put that thing together, worked an entire weekend to make the deadline before they closed the portal. And it was sent out in waves, so we weren't supposed to get nearly as much as we ended up getting. But it was his diligence on that, and entirely that gave us that money. So we were really appreciative of the work he did on that.
Excellent. Thank you.
So, and I appreciate the budget. I mean, we're not St. Louis County where we've got $80 million that we're shortfall. So I appreciate everyone's work on the budget. But at the end of the day, how conservative are we? I mean, I'm sure we budgeted some realistic, I thought the number maybe was 10%.
Yeah, it's about $7,400,000, I forget the exact number, that we put aside to make sure, and that's kind of our cushion. I tried to explain in this that statutorily we have to have a 3% emergency reserve. So we always have that. Every government.
So what's
has
that number?
Do you remember what the?
3 million. 3 million.
So, but we then as a government, ever since the recession, have tried to make sure that we have a 10% on top of that. And what that money is intended to do, in fact, that was one question I think you all three asked in common is, how much can you guarantee our revenues are going to stay high enough to sustain the government? Well, we're virtually entirely dependent in the general fund on a half-cent and a quarter-cent sales tax to run, so we can't. I mean, we're always dependent upon the spending habits of our citizenry. But that money is the money that we have, that if we see the economy start to turn, that we can then see we have to take measures such as any job that opens, unless it's a critical function, we put on a no-hire list. It's what allows us to pad that out while we figure out, okay, is this a temporary downturn? Is this something that we see ongoing? What do we need to do to stop this government from having a financial crisis?
We have gone into the reserve before, haven't we?
Back when Chuck was here, you guys did.
Yeah, and I know.
You went in the
10,
reserve?
12 years ago, during maybe the 2008 recession.
Because of COVID.
Well, 2008, I think.
Oh, that was the
I
housing
probably
market
remember,
decline?
Yeah, 2008, that was one of the worst recessions
That
we've
was-
ever had.
Yeah, when the recession hit in 2008, I started as finance director in February of 2008, and when the recession hit, Steve was telling me, boy, everything was great till you got here. But
So with
at that point in time, the county was not in the shape that it is now. However, a lot has changed in the makeup of our budget, and Just to give you a little flavor for where we are now, a 10% budget that we have, or 10% of revenue, sounds like a lot of money, and it's about $10 million. That's what we have had as a policy in our budgeting for a long time, 25 years, maybe longer than that. And one of the reasons we want to be consistent with that policy is because bonding agencies look at your policies, and one of the questions they ask us every time we put a bond issue out there, has there been any change in your budgetary formulation and policy that you use when you prepare your annual budget? We've always had a no for that question, and that's a good thing. We've stayed consistent for decades. But when you look at where we are now, we hit a high in our fund balance in the general fund in 2022 of $40 million. That was post-COVID, and we went from 27 million in 2020 to 40 million at the end of 2022 because all the CARES Act money that we got, 40-some million dollars, I think it was, something like that, helped supplant some of our normal operating expenses. So we had a one-time hit of money that helped us not spend money. So that's where the high is right now. At the end of 2024, we're at 37.7 million. But when you look at, and I think there was some discussion recently amongst the council members here, when you look at the last 5 years, that includes 2026.
What page are you on, Bob?
No, I'm not on any page.
Oh, okay.
The cumulative pay raises, because there were concerns about personnel expenses.
Right.
The cumulative pay raises in the last 5 years were 33.5%. When you look at the annual raises that have been granted. The big one was in 2023 when employees got moved through the pay range for their tenure. The average pay raise that year was 11.5%. Okay, so we've ramped up in the recent years here the amounts of increased pay, and increased pay means increased retirement costs, and our health insurance costs at the same time are certainly not going down. They're going up by close to double digits, if not double digits. So there are pressures on the general fund that we can't look at the numbers and say, oh, well, we have $37.7 million at the end of 2024. I expect that the fund balance will probably decrease in 2025. We still have a ways to go, and we don't have final numbers for that.
What's your
yet.
estimate for what the fund balance will be in 2025?
Well, you see it in, and I don't have it in here in front of me at the moment, but you know, we're what was it, 29? Okay.
29 million?
Yeah, that's the estimate. I hope it's higher, but we have a situation where our sales tax revenues that are 2/3 of the revenues of the county general fund increased at 13% in the last 5 years.
Yeah,
So 4 years, I'm sorry.
I mean, I personally feel good about the economy. I think, you know, it's humming right now, and I think it's, I mean, sure, anything can happen, but I would like to use some of that money, it doesn't have to be a lot, but to address some of the stormwater problems. You know, Terry, you got an issue, residents had called me out to your district, and they have flooding problems, and the problem is that the home builder didn't put any inlets in the backyards. Just,
Councilman,
guess
I
he
will
got
tell
away-
you.
He got away with it.
I will tell you, you're heading down a dangerous path if you start taking general fund money that supports the general operating structure of St. Charles County and devoting those funds.
Just a one-time deal.
If you're depleting those funds, they get spent one time.
Yeah.
And as I just mentioned, our fund balance is on a downward trend. So don't mortgage your future with one-time projects out of the general fund.
Wow.
That's a caution I would.
Noted.
Okay.
Here's one thing I would point out to you, that Terry and Joe were here when 8, 9, 10 happened. Dave and I didn't come on. Dave came in January of 13. I came in April of 13. The county was still recovering at that time. We still weren't back to what it cost us in 8, 9, 10. We were still recovering from that. So I understand where you're coming from and you look at these dollars, but for the folks who were here when they went through all that, you're going to understand why that everybody's gun shy about digging into that, because if you haven't been through that type of budget trauma that the county went through, if you deplete that reserve and you have something like that happen, there is nowhere for us to go.
Well, how are
at
we gonna
that
pay for the city hall improvements of 18 million? How is that, coming?
Bond.
Okay, then can we do a bond issue for stormwater? I mean, I know you don't want to, Bob, I get it, but, I mean, we have citizens, again, that have flooding problems, and to just sit up here and say it's not our problem is an issue.
Well, the only thing with that is, Tim, you're gonna have to figure out a way for people in the rural areas not to be part of that bond issue, because we have open ditches and 3 and 5 acres, and we don't.
Well, not in every place in your district, I mean, most of it, I agree.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, we've
Are
still
we
got
done
20
with-
minutes.
Are we done on that page?
Before we go on, can I ask?
Oh, yes, sir.
Mr. Baker, you have talked to Mr. Wellenkamp again about following that bill on,
Yeah, I mean, it didn't get to the governor's desk, from what I understand.
it's on the governor's desk.
I said it did not get to the
Oh,
governor.
it did not, no, it did not.
So, I mean, yeah, it's probably gonna be one of those things that we're gonna
Okay.
talk about for a few years.
Well-
And in the meantime, these people, every time it rains, it floods because
We
of
will,
our ineptitude.
I'll commit to you that I'll do everything I can.
I know
this
you
year
will. I do.
To
Thank
get
you.
that, to get that passed.
Pull that mic up, Joe.
On page 223, Parks and Rec, we have, for the executive building, we have renovations, windows, and tuck point, 1.3 million.
Are you asking what they're for?
No, we just tuck pointed this building, what, 5 years ago?
You know what, I was trying to remember that, but it's actually longer ago than that, it's like 7. But that's actually not for tuck pointing, it's because the windows are starting to fail.
Okay, it says tuck pointed on here, though. So,
Oh, I'm sorry.
So the windows, you're gonna replace all the windows in the building?
I think they're getting close to needing to be replaced because you can stand there and you can feel winter come through. So it's affecting our heating and cooling as well.
Okay.
We can have, somebody come and make a report on that.
No, I'm not saying that don't need replace. I was just asking, because I remember we tuck pointed it just
Right.
recently, and it said
No,
that.
No,
on
you're
Scott-
right, we did do that.
Scott did it and they did a good job.
And then what's the joint venture for $1 million? It's just all it says, joint venture.
Yeah, that's the henges that you all passed last meeting.
Okay,
It's engineering for the building that we talked about, the
Oh, I guess,
education
okay.
center.
okay, all right. And then siding, it just says siding, 620,000.
Where are you at,
Remember
Joe?
that one?
Page 223 on Parks and Rec.
That's ours. That's re-siding restrooms, composters, Klondike building out there at Klondike Park, numerous buildings throughout the Boone home. So we've lumped all of our siding projects into one siding.
Isn't that, so then we, on the siding on the Boone project, wasn't that part of the hail damage?
Not
that
all
we
of it.
Talked about?
We got a lot of roofs. The roofs look great, but not siding.
The
So,
siding wasn't damaged?
No, not as much as we'd like.
So, so the barns at Romasick need to have siding put on them again?
The barns?
Did you say barns and?
No, like our restrooms, our composters, all those sorts of things. There's composter siding in there. There's, I think, Quail Ridge maybe gets some siding. There's a number of projects that are wrapped up into that figure.
Okay, and then Ryan, you got 2 million for land acquisition. Is that, do you have anything earmarked yet or
We
not quite?
budget money every year just in case a good deal comes up. So that's just sort of our placeholder, so.
No, that's a good plan. And we're at 4,500 acres or?
Actually, we're over 5,000 now, I believe, 5,100 and something. I haven't got it committed to memory yet because you guys just passed the
Does that
the
mean we
Hedges
have to
project.
stop because your goal was 5,000?
No, we're not quite there yet. We're not quite there.
Tell them how close.
What was it? It was like 1/1000th of a percent of the acre per person of St. Louis County. That's always been our goal. We are so close you can almost taste it. But
What would that take, 6,000?
oh no, it's not quite that. I mean, I think if we got another 100, 200 acres, we would be well over the per acre person in St. Louis County. So
But
we were really close.
You always want to have that contingency in there in case a good deal comes
Correct,
up.
and that's why we budgeted money in there, just in case we get a really good deal.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Yes, Patty?
One last item for discussion, Councilman. We kind of talked about it maybe on the side, some of us, but I know that I would like to see us have a grant writer. I know that each department spends an inordinate amount of time writing grants, and we could probably use two, but I would start with one. Each department writes a lot of grants. I know the city hired a grant writer, and they were able to find even more money than our own departments could do, just because that was their sole mission, and they knew how to write grants. I know some of us have talked about it. Grant writing is very, very technical, very time-consuming, and if you know what you're doing, bang, 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 but if you don't, it can take a lot of time. This paid for itself. This person paid for themselves and all the money that we brought in. So I would just like to discuss and maybe find a way that we could put a grant writer in. Not that all departments wouldn't still be doing some, because I don't know that one person could do it as much as everybody, each of these departments are doing, but just something to discuss.
Have you had that discussion?
There are years in which we probably would have jumped on that, but right now. Oh, it's on. Sorry.
Pull it-
Sorry.
There you go.
Right now, grant availability is kind of at a low point. A lot of grants that in the past the federal government would have offered have been pulled back, or at least there's been warnings. The ones that are growing are tending to be in certain of the federal security areas, and a lot of that is through East-West Gateway STARS program, which we already participate in, and they have the grant writer that works in that program. It's not that we're uninterested in it. I think probably we need to do a little more study of it and see if this kind of ebb and flow right now and uncertainty in the grant programs kind of changes its character.
Well, that makes sense. I don't want to hire somebody that's not going to be able to do anything. Maybe keep us surprised, and that's something we could look for next year.
I'll find out if any of the other counties have someone.
Okay, that would be good to know. Thank you.
Any other questions?
I got a question. Brian,
You
What-
thought you were done.
what boat ramp, that was on the second page now. What boat ramp are we gonna refurbish? That's 750,000? A boat rehab, what does it say,
Where are you talking?
What
boat
page?
ramp utility upgrade?
Oh, that's the second phase of the Klondike boat ramp down there, bringing in water and sewer, better electrical service down there. Right now, we have like a pit toilet that's, so it's upgrading the services down there. As part of the that second phase of the grant we got through the Port Authority.
I remember, but it says boat ramp, that's why, it's not a boat ramp, that's just upgrades utilities, but that's
Yeah.
okay. What about the NEC, what are we doing with that? I can't find it on here.
The NEC, we've budgeted, we're under engineering right now for two major projects. One for exterior improvements to the NEC, which is basically getting the camping area, the RV area, up to code with water and sewer and electric. We constantly blow panels and improving the parking lot lighting, all that sort of stuff. That's one project that we're under engineering on. The second project is...
Do you have a budget for that, or just engineering?
That's what, right now, we're in engineering right now, so this will cover the initial cost of the start of those projects. And then the second project that we're working on right now is the interior upgrades, which includes everything from HVAC improvements. We have some structural steel that I can push my hand through, which is a problem. There's some upgrades to the horse stalls, some stormwater issues regarding the drainage out there. So the interior project is also under engineering right now. So that money that you see in there, that is mainly captured in those projects.
Okay, as far as dog parks, are they used that much to spend $2 million on a dog park?
Oh, yeah. Oh, well, now that you're talking the Numeli one.
Yeah.
So the Numeli is, that's part of the Sundust Park Preserve. That was about a 100-acre donation specifically donated for the creation of a dog park. That's the only thing it can be used for. So the family who donated that specifically put that in the donation agreement when they...
Well, is that an additional 100 acres to the golf course?
Yeah, it's on the back side of the golf course.
Okay.
So,
Remember when
yeah.
we went out there that
I
time?
do kind of remember.
Yeah, so it's specifically for that, and when I say, you know, it's budgeted for the dog park, it also hopefully will include construction for a roadway to get to that area, as well as, you know, some of the other supporting amenities. It's not just creating a dog park. But to answer your question, yes, the dog parks are very heavily used, and we get a lot of calls when they're not open. So,
Okay, and so Riverside's, that's our new park, right, that we just got? The Riverside Oldsby Park, is that our new one?
Those are two different parks. So Riverside Landing is up on the Mississippi River. That's our RV campground that we opened up in 2020. Then Oglesby Park is off West Meyer Road out in O'Fallon. Or no, sorry, Winslow.
All right, so
sorry.
what's the $4 million you're spending on? It says development, but what's that for? Or-
At Oglesby?
Yes.
Oglesby is phase 2 development. So we opened up the first phase of Oglesby back, it's been a couple of years ago now. The person that we had bought the property from had a lease on the property so he could go find a new place to live. So that family has since moved out. We've taken down the house and now we're ready to complete the construction of the park, which includes building a roadway through the park, adding a signature group shelter, maintenance facility, and we've also been looking at the possibility of adding an open archery range.
Okay.
Ooh, yay.
Something different.
I'd say our
Like
health
archery.
department's pretty healthy.
They better be. Steve?
Yeah, if Mr. Brazel's finished, I was going to suggest that Councilman York might want to educate him on dog parks. Weren't you kind of a
Oh,
dog
yes,
park
yes.
pioneer? How long ago was that?
Oh, a long time ago.
Most of the parks
Long
out
time
where we
ago.
are, Steve, are horse parks, that's why.
Part
what
of
I
the
want.
part of the
I want a
Numeli
horse
Dog Park is including a large lake. It was specifically donated for like retriever training, and so it's going to have a much bigger water body with dedicated water flow. So hopefully we eliminate the old blue-green algae problem we had out at Bromelsek. So it'll be a really cool dog park when it's all said and
How
done.
do you access how are you gonna access that part? Is it off of Sneak Road or not
I
Sneak Road?
wish I could remember the road.
Forestell?
No, Forestell is the main entrance to the park. So there's, I don't know.
Is it behind the park?
Yeah. It's
Closer to Numeli downtown.
Yeah. You go through Numeli, like as you're heading west towards like Warren County, and then you take a right. There's like a water tower
Yeah,
kind
it
of thing there.
veers to the right.
I don't know what that road is. You could probably name off 100 roads, and I don't know
Yeah.
if that's the right one.
Yeah.
But there's an old driveway that went down through there, and so
Okay.
that's initial access.
Okay.
And Councilman, I will tell you, this dog park, which was an entire donation to the county, is a destination dog park. There's like one in Kansas
Yeah.
and one in Lansing, Michigan. And it's not only a huge benefit to our county, it'll probably draw some tourism, to tell you the truth, because there'll be retriever training area and then a very large, open, controlled, more than 40 acres that you're gonna fence
Close to
of
it. Yeah.
open, that they'll know their dog's in there. They better have pretty good control,
I-
but they'll be able to let their dog run
I would
loose.
recommend that you make sure that your dog comes back to you when they call you. When they call you. Yeah.
Well,
There's a
that's
little bit of training that needs to go on before
very
you take them
interesting.
there.
Very interesting.
All right, any other questions? All right, with that, we will wrap up our budget work session for this week. We can do this again next Monday, and we'll take a break for the next 7 minutes before we start our meeting.
You're saying, Mike, next week?
Next Monday.
Okay.
Next Monday, we're back. Remember, we move our
Okay.
meetings
Yeah,
first and
yeah.
third.
short-term rental being Lake versus county. Okay.
Awesome. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's County Council meeting, Monday, November 24th. We will start off tonight with our invocation from Chaplain Billy Shockley of St. Charles County Police Department, and our Pledge of Allegiance from Councilwoman Patty York. If you would please stand and remove your caps.
May we pray. Heavenly Father, as we gather here tonight for this county council meeting, we have so much to be thankful for. We ask that the Holy Spirit guide this council with the leadership, wisdom, and grace to make the best decisions for all of St. Charles County residents. We ask God to bless St. Charles County, Missouri, and the United States of America. We ask these things in the blessed name of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. Please call the roll.
Councilman Swanson.
Here, ma'am.
Councilman Brazel. Councilman Elam.
Here.
Councilman Hollander.
Here.
Councilman Hammond.
Here.
Councilwoman York.
Here?
Councilman Baker.
Here.
That will start us off with public comments. Public comments tonight are 3 minutes in length. We have a clock right there in front of Mr. Swanson. They will call your name when you come up. You have 3 minutes in which to address that topic.
First speaker is Lester Neal regarding the Lake St. Louis extension.
Good evening, everybody. Thanks for letting me speak to you guys once again this week about Lake St. Louis Boulevard Extension. First off, I'd like to thank Alderman Baker for trying to reallocate money from the Lake St. Louis Boulevard project to an immediate need in his district. An even better idea is taking all $22 million that you approved last November and giving it to other projects. The road's not wanted. This road costs 2.5 times what it takes to build the same mile somewhere else, and that's because of the terrain. You had to approve, I think it was $160 million just to study how to handle the historical artifacts that are in the way of the project. It's just a bad place to build the road. As Councilman Brazel pointed out, subdivision residents don't want it. And he comes to every meeting that we have, and we get 50 people, 75 people that are just really, for lack of a better term, pissed off that this road is going through. They don't want it. The St. Charles County portion is farmland right now. I don't have a crystal ball, but I've been told that the trust that owns the land has no intentions of selling it. In fact, the county is still negotiating the right-of-way with them. So there's no right-of-way for the St. Charles County portion. There is one for the O'Fallon portion. Again, I don't have a crystal ball, so I can't say that with certainty, but I've been told by someone who knows the family that they don't want to sell that property to developers. Not taking into account to any development on the St. Charles County road, Steve Ellman pointed out that subdivisions are going to go in there. The only subdivisions are in O'Fallon. There's only one road that will connect into the Lake St. Louis Boulevard extension, and that's out of my subdivision. I don't want it there because we have a problem with car clotting. Hopefully the police come in. It just gives the bad guys another road out. So that is a public safety issue. O'Fallon's been working on a design for 6 years. They still don't have one that's finalized. And there's still a lot of misinformation out there. I looked on the the Road Board website today, and St. O'Fallon's application for their portion of the tip money was
still showing the road going along Curtis Lane. It's actually about 150 feet east of that. You know, so depending on where you look, you get different, citizens get different information on it, and it creates a problem. I was gonna bring something to put up here, and it's on a plat too big to put under the little reader, so. I appreciate your time. I wish each of you a happy Thanksgiving, and I know it's not easy doing what you do. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Next speaker.
Sean Mann regarding the Lake St. Louis Boulevard extension.
Good evening, council members. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Sean Mann, and I'm here to strongly oppose the proposed Lake St. Louis Boulevard extension and request that it be removed from the county's traffic improvement plan. So this project is an inefficient use of taxpayer dollars at the end of the day. It offers no proven traffic benefit and would permanently damage the local Preston Woods walking trail, existing homeowner values, a natural wetland, and a historically significant site. It would also cost county taxpayers $8.7 million from the half-cent transportation county sales tax that's on the county's website. And the overall cost of the project is $22 million paid for by county funds, city, state, federal sources. It's an irresponsible use of constituent funds given the lack of demonstrated need. Beyond the strong local opposition to the project and irresponsible use of taxpayer funds, the actual study itself, the 2019 Deer Road and Route DD location study used to justify this project, is fundamentally flawed. First, it never considers a no extension option, so it cannot determine whether the extension is needed at all. Second, it claims that it will reduce congestion on Route N are unsupported. Route Double D is already overburdened, not in great condition, and not designed to take on more traffic. This project would simply shift congestion and actually not solve it. Third, the traffic data is now 6 to 7 years old, far outside of best practices, and collected before major growth in this area of St. Charles County. Fourth, future traffic projections rely on outdated models with questionable assumptions and no updated trip generation analysis despite significant development. And even so, the study's own no-build scenario shows that Route Double D Deer intersection operating at acceptable levels through 2030 and only potentially needing improvements by 2045 without the extension. Obviously, this area's seen a lot of growth, and Deer and Route Double D, that intersection there, has become pretty dangerous just in itself. So in short, this project really provides no meaningful benefit to the constituents, costs millions of dollars to the county, and harms the local community and natural resources. I urge the county to remove all funding for this project and redirect it towards higher priority county transportation needs, as Tim Baker has already identified some. Thank you, Tim. Thank you for your time and service to St. Charles County residents. Appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next
Rose Zuck regarding the Lake St. Louis Boulevard extension.
Good evening, hello. It's pretty, isn't it?
It is.
And I've seen other developments that look very similar. But I would like the council to stay with their R1B plan of 20,000 square feet per home. So that would be 2 homes per acre. That would make that a wonderful subdivision. My other one, Lake St. Louis Boulevard. This is things that Bill Carrier wrote up, and I'm reading some of what he did. I know you all have his email that he sent. It was very well done. His recommendation, one of them was remove all St. Charles funding for further design of the extension until a new traffic study properly assesses alternative no extension concepts to improve wait times and flow at the subject intersection. They're all pretty similar, but if you read the detail that he has, it equates to each of his recommendations. Remove all St. Charles funding for further design of the extension until turning counts, and traffic volumes consistent with the traffic analysis industry's best practices. And I'm skipping. Remove all St. Charles funding for further design of the extension until a new traffic study accesses the no extension concepts to improve wait times and flow at the subject intersection and comprehensive Route DD modernization and capacity enhancement studies proposed, funded, and completed. And I do agree, and I like that Tim Baker is proposing to redirect funds to areas that he knows. And I know you've seen news reports about sound walls for his area, and I'm sure other areas need it as well, and with flooding in certain areas. And that's all I have.
Thank you, ma'am. Next speaker.
Amanda Bergenier, Lake St. Louis Extension.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I have notes. I have not done this before, so forgive me.
It's okay.
Council members, neighbors, and friends, I stand before you. I am a resident of St. Charles County, and I'm also an Army veteran of 26 years. The proposed extension of Lake St. Louis Boulevard would destroy a forest trail that is far more valuable than pavement. This trail protects an underground spring, shelters wildlife, and preserves archaeological sites. It's a daily resource for families, the high school track team, even our city councilmen walk this trail pretty regularly. And my own children play in these woods. My family exercises there. We take family photos there, and we find peace there, as do many other surrounding families and neighborhoods. This is not just a resource for Preston Woods. This is a resource used by Shady Creek. There's a whole bunch of different neighborhoods that come by and use this. Briar Chase, Countryshire. For me personally, it's where I clear my mind after years of service. So this trail means a lot to me and my family and my community. Extending the boulevard would bring noise pollution, it would erase natural habitat, and waste taxpayer dollars. We've already had a connection just minutes away. The project is unnecessary and irresponsible. I urge you to redirect these funds where they're truly needed, such as the long overdue noise wall in District 7. That investment would improve quality of life without destroying what makes St. Charles County special. Let us choose preservation, community, and fiscal responsibility over needless expansion. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I also wanted to say that I appreciate the sacrifice that you all make. I've been in the position before where there's not a lot of thankfulness, and I do appreciate your sacrifice. And I hope you all have a happy Thanksgiving.
Thanks for your service.
You too.
Scout Bergenier.
Sure.
Sure.
You'll need to pull that mic down for her. Scout, welcome.
Good evening. Hello, my name is Scout Bergenier, and why am I here? I'm here to save the Preston Woods Trail. Why we use it is many different ways. We use it to run, have family time, and take pictures. All the animals will be sad if you cut down their homes. Thank you.
Thank you, Scout.
Good job.
Laping Wong Stewart regarding the Lake St. Louis Boulevard extension.
So good evening, council members. This is my first time here. Also, forgive me if I say anything inappropriate, but I'll try not to. So I'm
You'll fit in well.
here to speak against the Lake St. Louis Boulevard extension as well, but that was a tough act to follow.
Right.
So I was just trying to keep my comment short. Because I live right next to this Lake St. Louis Boulevard, the street within Shady Creek. So from what I see, the traffic problem they're trying to solve by building the extension doesn't really solve any problems. Because when I come back from work, I drive either from DD and get on Summer and get to my subdivision, or trying to get in. But the traffic really starting to build up after you pass the Lake St. Louis Boulevard. So by building an extension going from DD to Lake St. Louis Boulevard, it doesn't really do anything for us. Nevertheless, it's going to cost like $22 million, like let's say, if you actually have someone sent over to look at Paul Renard Boulevard, which is right in the intersection of the Lake St. Louis Boulevard. The road is kind of falling apart. They have a lot of potholes, have cracks. They always have construction truck trying to patch up the road. So we really even need those money besides building the sound wall that Councilor Tim Baker is suggesting. We also need funding to fix some of the local road that is falling apart in conjunction with the Lake St. Louis Boulevard. And I went to the, there was an open house at the Day, is it Day Park? O'Day Park?
O'Day Park.
Yeah, so I talked to the engineer there. They talk about, with the flooding concern that we have, they have to build a bigger bridge to try to solve that problem. So if we have to build a bigger bridge in the first place, they should recognize that was a potential problem to begin with. We're just trying to fix and patch all this problem that is, for me, is non-existent. And with all the residents here, we're trying to oppose against it. I know we've been coming for like few meetings now, trying to express our concern with the Lake St. Louis Boulevard extension. So I hope all the council members take that into consideration. And I know you guys work hard and for the citizen of St. Charles County. So I just want to appreciate everybody with Thanksgiving coming up. Just take everything into consideration, and hopefully you guys make the right decision for the local residents that lives there.
Thank you.
Scott McBrady regarding the sound wall.
Good evening, council members. I guess it's going to be the theme. I too have notes. I only found out about this meeting just a couple hours ago when my wife sent me the news article that the sound levels were going to be discussed. So I felt compelled to come and do this. Never done this before, so bear with me. I live off of Page near Motherhead, and we built our house back in 2015 so that our 5 children could be closer to the St. Joseph's Parish and school. And back then it was quiet and peaceful, but over the years, the just general loudness has increased and increased to the point where it's almost intolerable. On any given day, there are at least 60 instances of vehicles that go by that register at about 110 decibels. I don't have a calibrated meter, but it's close enough for me to understand it. Additionally, at least a couple times a month, usually at night, cars will go by that are so loud you would think a thunderclap had happened outside of your house. It disturbs our sleep, it disturbs our pets, it disturbs the quiet time, and it's only getting worse as time progresses. So I support any effort by Mr. Baker or any other council member to help try to alleviate this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oops, that's all yours.
Martha Brown regarding the sound wall.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. My name is Martha Brown, and I've been waiting several years for someone to listen to my concerns regarding the Highway 364 traffic noise. So I truly appreciate being here tonight. In 2006, my late husband and I built and moved into our dream home on Dunmore Place Drive. We're neighbors of Scott's. We loved our home and the neighborhood and planned to stay in the home forever. It was, at that time, it was peacefully surrounded by beautiful trees and immersed in nature with deer and other wildlife in our backyard. We just loved it. And then that changed dramatically when we discovered that the highway, 364 highway would be built literally in our backyard. So 7 years after we moved there, that's when the highway was built. We spent over a year having sleepless nights because of them hauling dirt 24 hours a day for a year to build the hill where the highway is located. At that time, we sought legal assistance and spoke with numerous MoDOT, local and state politicians and officials during this time to request that a sound wall be built along with the highway, but our requests were ignored. As expected, the noise from the highway was extreme. We could no longer sit outside on our deck or our patio because of the noise. We ended up having to spend almost $10,000 on some green giant arborvitaes that at least block the view from inside of the house from the highway. We thought it would possibly cut down on the noise too, but unfortunately it didn't. The traffic noise has increased significantly over the years with large semi-trucks, motorcycles, speeding cars with loud mufflers, and especially during the rush hour. It's terrible. We've called the Highway Patrol and Cottleville Police Department several times over the years to address the situation of speeding cars and motorcycle racing, which happens usually every Friday night, especially during the summer. It's very disconcerting that I can't even carry on a conversation outside my house and sometimes even inside my house. The traffic noise is so loud. I've had pictures fall off the walls. I've had all my cats hiding under the beds. My anxiety has increased significantly because of this increased noise over the past years. Sleep with the sound machine at night so I don't hear the loud noise that Scott mentioned. Literally, in the middle of the night, we could hear loud mufflers and just motorcycles, and it's really out in our backyard, literally. So in closing, my husband suffered from a long-term illness, and he passed away earlier this year. And his wish was for me to stay in our home as long as I was able. And this is my wish also. So I appreciate your consideration to approve these sound walls so that it would be an answer to my prayers and would allow me to return to the peaceful retreat that my husband and I built 20 years ago. Thank you so much, and God bless you.
Arnie Dienoff, regarding the consent agenda and police matters.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the County Council. My name is Arnie C. A.C. Dienoff, County Public Advocate, and I've got a lot of matters. I'll keep most of them for probably next week. But we have major issues of honesty, trust, accountability, responsibility of 2 police employees, possible fraud, scams, corruption, taking or stealing and embezzlement of our money, I believe. Former police there are some serious there's some serious issues here. There's information coming to me via a variety of sources. County police officers, county employees, and others have confided in me in what's going on and a lot of the issues.
Arnie,
There's
hang on.
a current
Arnie,
in-depth county
hang on a
police
second.
internal affairs investigation.
Hang on a second. I stopped your clock. I just have a point of order question. Can he talk about county employees?
I would say that the public speaker needs to move on from something that is dealing with a confidential employment matter.
We can't talk about actual employees' names, Arnie. You could talk about the police department, but you can't mention any names with any of our county employees. They're not elected officials like us. They're not in the public domain.
I respectfully disagree with you because they have accountability and responsibility.
So sue me afterwards, but no employee names, right?
Okay.
You can sue me after that. All right, you ready? Back to our regularly scheduled program.
There is a current in-depth county police internal affairs investigation either being conducted or concluded. If you go back in time, involving witnesses from state laws were violated, civil rights were trampled on an individual, and our county paid out in a settlement to this individual. This is involving criminal cases. There are serious issues and serious possible crimes with several violations of police department promulgated rules, regulations, and policies. I believe that the Federal Bureau of Investigations, the United States Attorney's Office, the State Attorney General, the county auditor, the state auditor, the county prosecutor appoint a special prosecutor to be impartial, and the impaneled county grand jury shall look into these matters. I am hereby making a bona fide and valid public information request under Chapter 610.021 of the revised state statutes for the employment status of... Yes.
quit mentioning names.
They're in the public domain.
Half the stuff he's saying is not even true, though.
It-
I mean, that stuff,
Let's go back and forth.
Length of service, last paid salary, and last day of work at the county police department. I believe that we're at the point of needing to bring justice to our 435,000 county residents who are wanting and deserve real answers and accurate facts. There should be no cover-ups. If anyone has, at the county police department, has any information, please reach out and contact me. We, the citizens, have a full right to know all the circumstances. I demand 100% transparency.
Thank you for your.
It's the final speaker.
All right. That wraps up public comments. That moves us on to oral report from the county executive.
What Mike was gonna, Mike, are you gonna do yours, do you wanna do your presentation?
I thought you wanted the chief to go first.
Oh, that's right, I'm sorry, the chief's gonna go first. And this is in response to the issue that Mr. Brazel brought up about the,
Large parties.
pardon me?
Large parties.
Yeah, about the large parties by
Flash mobs.
teenagers. I asked the chief just do some research on how many of those we've had in unincorporated St. Charles County.
Yeah, so we looked this up over the last, we tried to go back 5 years. We got the last 4 years, and we've had 5 of those large parties in the last 4 years. I know it's not as big as I can make the font, it's a spreadsheet. But in those, 1 in 22, the 1 in 24, and then 3 so far this year. Two of those 3 were at the same location at a known problem home where we deal with some juvenile issues at that home already. The most recent one we dealt with was the one the same night, the one in O'Fallon, and there was summons written on all those for uncooperative adults, and so when we deal with these parties, it's a challenge for the officers when they get there because number one, the kids largely scatter, and you're going to get a lot of them scatter. And secondly, you got to get control of the party. If they have alcohol involved, we can't put these kids in cars and let them drive away. So it's trying to get control of it. It's not easy when you have 2, 3, 4 officers respond and there's 50 or 100 kids. We're not really seeing an uptick. You know, for us, it's only been 5 in 4 years, and that's what I would consider large parties like this. In fact, the first one when they were gone on arrival. But our SROs, you know, are really paying attention to what's being chatted about in school. These kids are getting on websites or an app they actually have now they hear about a party and they're just going to basically go take over the party. We're not seeing a lot of it, but it's out there. It's a thing. They tend to do it around breaks, fall break. We might see some on Christmas break. And our SROs are certainly paying attention to whatever chatter is going on around school, rumors, and whatever intel we can garner from the internet. So happy to entertain any questions from this.
Yes, so there, you know, the last one that we talked about. Oh, I'm sorry. The last one that we talked about that I called you on, there was compelling evidence with video and all that, and I know it's not your jurisdiction. It falls under, well, that was a confusion too. It went to Lake St. Louis and it went to O'Fallon, I believe.
Well, yeah, it was an O'Fallon resident. The residence was in O'Fallon.
O'Fallon,
O'Fallon
but
police investigated it.
Lake St. Louis police showed
They
up.
responded and assisted.
And then, because it's those pockets, you know?
Yeah.
Which is, I understand that too, but how long would you say, I mean, I did get the excuse, and I'm gonna say excuse, that, well, when juveniles are involved, you know, they're lying to the system, and it's harder to do anything. But when you have compelling evidence, when they're ripping the countertops off the kitchen tables, punching holes in the walls, breaking the TVs, it's all on video, jumping on the furniture, destroying it with pure intent, and then throwing stuff and hitting people in the face, which causes physical damage and stitches, that to me is a crime.
Mm-hmm.
No question about it.
Correct.
And so I don't believe there's been any arrest yet.
I don't know the status of that investigation. I know many referrals have been made to juvenile, reference the assault and some of the destruction of property. Again, we can't just arrest everybody. We have to put a name to
the. Your deal. I know
we have to put a
but,
name to the
yeah,
crime.
I understand that, but the thing is like, if one of the, I don't want to say excuses, but one reason I hear that they have these flash mobs, I don't know if I don't know if that's accurate, you know, from.
That's for our jurisdiction. Yeah.
It's just our jurisdiction, so
Correct.
that's not O'Fallon, Lake St.
Correct.
So that's not accurate at all, is what I'm saying. There's quite a few. There were 5 in this region just this year, from what I think you and I talked about that, and one of them was someone you know that works for you. And so that's why this is more of a problem, and so I think that what happens is if someone will call the police and say, there's a bunch of kids at a house. Well, that's the report. 2 police cars show up, and there's 200 kids there, literally 200 kids, right? And throwing stuff, doing whatever they're doing. And so the 2 cops, I understand. There are just 2 of them. But then they can't really call out at 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock at night because there's probably not any more than 2 cops in that area.
That's not accurate. We get more cars
Okay,
there.
that's what
and
I'm
from the
asking.
surrounding jurisdictions, we all assist each other.
That's what I'm asking.
So I'm saying usually it's an initial 2 officer response, and then it takes a few minutes to get other officers there to get control.
So is that what we're doing? That's what I was asking you. When it's something that dramatic or whatever you want to call it, can you have a regional support like coming from O'Fallon and
We do.
Wentzville?
We do.
Well, they did it in this case, but I mean, maybe
Well, they got
that's-
Lake. They
Huh?
didn't call for any. They get all the help they call for, and they asked Lake St. Louis to assist, and Lake St. Louis assisted. They didn't ask for county or they didn't ask for anybody else.
I gotcha.
So yeah, we'll get all the help we want. If we just keep calling for officers, we'll get all the help we need.
I think that this one draw a lot of attention, you know, and I think that I would hope to think that there's a little more. I know you get it on both ends. Sometimes cops are being abusive to the teenagers. I get it. It comes on both ends. But this was out of control, and you know that.
Well, yeah, the officers got control of it,
Yeah.
and then investigated based on the evidence that was presented to them, and made, I know, multiple referrals to juvenile, and that's the extent they can do. Is once they make the referrals to juvenile, then it's in the system.
Did they make the referrals to juvenile?
Yes, they did.
Okay.
I don't know how many, and I don't know on what charges. I know the assault and some of the destruction of property, but I don't know how many referrals they made, but they did make several.
Chief, what's the process at that point? When they refer to juvenile, what's the next step?
Well, they get a hearing. They get a juvenile hearing, go through the juvenile process. It's like they get a hearing. They're being charged with assault on the juvenile level, and then they get all the due rights. The problem for us, it's hard to interview and interrogate juveniles because you have to have the parent, you have to have a DJO. There's more to it than interviewing an adult.
DJO?
Deputy Juvenile Officer.
Thank you.
So an adult, again, is 18 years or older. They raised the age a couple years ago. So you get a lot of these 17-year-olds that do adult-level crimes, but they're really juveniles.
Okay.
So, and they get treated as such.
Any other questions for Chief? Yes, Tim.
Chief, is there anything we can do as the legislative body to help you?
I don't really think so. We have everything on the books we need.
Okay.
It's just a matter of getting there and getting control. Again, these things aren't easy because, again, over the years, I broke up many of these parties, and the kids are going to scatter. That's what you're going to get, and it gets concerning. But you got to get controlled. You got to get a hold of parents. Again, we got to try not to put the kids in cars that have been drinking. That's a challenge. But some of them are just going to run and jump in cars and go. So it's not an easy thing. Even when you get 5, 10 officers there, it's still not an easy thing. And when there's all the destruction of property, yeah, that's bad. We're trying to get hold of homeowners and find out who did that. But sometimes we can't do it that night. It takes the video evidence that always shows up on social media.
Are the parents liable at all?
Yeah, we actually, one of these, we wrote on the last one in Darting Prairie, we wrote 4 summons to adults that were uncooperative with us, that actually kind of knew the party was going on and were not cooperating with the investigation. So,
okay.
So
Any
they can
other
be.
questions?
Okay.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Chief.
Mr. Chairman, unless you're really anxious to hear Mike, I think we'll hold him off to the next meeting. You've heard quite a bit from finance already today.
You good with that, Mike?
It's been a long time since we started.
We'll let you take Thanksgiving off. How's that? All right. Anything more from County Executive?
No, sir.
That moves us to consent agenda. Any items to be removed from consent agenda? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion.
Motion approved.
Second.
Motion to approve in second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That brings us to bills for final passage, starting with Bill 5439.
Bill number 5439, an ordinance approving an agreement with the Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission for funding of safety improvements to reduce crashes on St. Charles County roadways.
Any questions or comments on this bill? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Bill number 5439, an ordinance approving an agreement with the Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission for funding of safety improvements to reduce crashes on St. Charles County roadways. Councilman Swanson?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilman Brazel?
Yes.
Councilman Elam?
Yes.
Councilman Hollander?
Yes.
Councilman Hammond?
Yes.
Councilwoman York?
Yes.
Councilman Baker?
Yes.
You threw me off with that.
Yeah.
Going back and forth there
Me
with him
too.
and me to him. I got lost. Bill 5439 passes. Sorry, just had a random thought that I'm not going to share publicly. So, Bill 5440.
Bill number 5440, an ordinance approving an agreement with East-West Gateway Council of Governments to conduct planning services and develop a detailed vision and conceptual plan for the Missouri Great Streets Route N corridor in St. Charles County.
So before we go forward, I'll tell you, this bill includes a revised termination clause in Exhibit A. So just needed to put that as part of the record. Any questions or comments about this? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Bill number 5440, an ordinance approving an agreement with East-West Gateway Council of Governments to conduct planning services and develop a detailed vision and conceptual plan for the Missouri Great Streets Route N corridor in St. Charles County. Councilman Brazel?
Yes.
Councilman Hammond?
Yes.
Councilman Elam?
Yes.
Councilman Hollander?
Yes.
Councilwoman York?
Yes.
Councilman Baker?
Yes.
Councilman Swanson?
Yes, ma'am.
Bill 5440 passes. That gets us to Bill 5441.
Bill number 5441, an ordinance approving a cost share agreement with the Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission for participation in the Commission's cost share program.
Any questions or comments? Seeing none?
Bill number 5441, an ordinance approving a cost share agreement with the Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission for our participation in the Commission's cost share program. Councilman Hammond?
Yes.
Councilman Elam?
Yes.
Councilman Hollander?
Yes.
Councilwoman York?
Yes.
Councilman Baker?
Yes.
Councilman Swanson?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilman Brazel?
Yes.
Bill 5441 passes. Bill 5442.
Bill number 5442, an ordinance approving execution of a congestion mitigation and air quality agreement with the Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission to coordinate the participation of St. Charles County in the cost of the Commission's public improvement for arterial management interface for the routes.
Any Sorry, didn't mean to cut you off. Any questions or comments on this bill? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Bill number 5442, an ordinance approving execution of a congestion mitigation and air quality agreement with the Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission to coordinate the participation of St. Charles County in the cost of the Commission's public improvement for arterial management interface for the routes. Councilman Elam?
Yes.
Councilman Hollander?
Yes.
Councilwoman York?
Yes.
Councilman Baker?
Yes.
Councilman Swanson?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilman Brazel?
Yes.
Councilman Hammond?
Yes.
Bill 5442 passes, wrapping us up with 5443.
Bill number 5443, an ordinance authorizing the execution of an intergovernmental agreement and other related documents between St. Charles County and the St. Charles City County Library District in furtherance of the creation of the Heritage Museum Archives and Local History Genealogy Center.
Anybody want to ask Ryan questions? Seeing none, please call the roll. Just
Bill
wanted to
number
call you out, sorry.
5443, an ordinance authorizing the execution of an intergovernmental agreement and other related documents between St. Charles County and the St. Charles City County Library District in furtherance of the creation of the Heritage Museum Archives and Local History Genealogy Center. Councilman Hollander?
Yes.
Councilwoman York?
Yes.
Councilman Baker?
Yes.
Councilman Swanson?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilman Brazel?
Yes.
Councilman Hammond?
Yes.
Councilman Elam?
Yes. Bill 5443 passes. That wraps up bills for final passage. On to bills for introduction with 5444.
Bill number 5444, requested by Michael Hurlbert, sponsored by Mike Elam. An ordinance amending sections 500.500, 500.510, 500.520, 500.530, 500.540, and 500.550 of the ordinances of St. Charles County, Missouri, to update and amend the Property Maintenance Code of St. Charles County.
Any questions about this bill?
Can I ask a question?
Yes, ma'am.
This is bringing us up to 2021 codes, just like everybody else, correct? Is anybody, what is the most current code? Is this it?
2024 is out.
I'm sorry.
For the multitudes watching at home right now.
Sorry about that, this is York. So right now, there is the 2024, it's out and published, and they're currently producing the 2027, so it goes in 3-year cycles.
Okay.
So we adopted the building code 21, and this is the property maintenance that's coming behind it to tie in with that same adoption.
Okay.
Yep.
But it looks like we're consistent with everybody else is still on 21, so
That's correct.
that's
You
not
have-
an issue right now.
Correct, yep.
Okay.
Mr.
Thank you.
Brazel?
Richard, when we talked about this, remember we worked on those farmhouses that were getting written up, that when someone buys a couple hundred acres, there's an old beat-up house on it, and you guys are writing them up and all that, and so we stopped doing that, right?
Specifically on what
When
thing?
we
Was
did
it,
that,
was it the transfer of ownership are you
you and
referring
I,
to?
We changed it so that these houses that were, people were, like Dearberg, for instance, he was buying that ground, and just to have he's got 3,000 acres, and you keep buying the farms, and there'd be an old farmhouse on there, and the county would go write him up, which it makes sense that he's not doing anything with these farmhouses anyway. So we put like where you can write them up as not disconnect electric and are not inhabitable, so there's no county code violations. Remember that?
Yeah, quickly, for the group, Joe's referring to a transfer of ownership that goes into place in the county when someone changes over a house that has a septic system. It's required to be inspected by our department. When that happens, it was creating an issue which was forcing people to fix the house even though they may not need or want to fix it. So we put in an amendment that you're speaking to, a byproduct of that came out as the vacant building index. Is that what you're referring to?
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
So you would, and because when they go out and inspect the septic, then they'd inspect a bunch of other stuff, and they don't, their intent was never to use the house, they just want the ground. But they didn't know if they want to tear the house down, because they might want to restore it, it's an 1800 house, but they don't want to restore it right now, so they just want to put it on pause, so to speak. So we did do that, right?
Yes, that's correct.
My next question would be, and this may not have anything to do with you, Joanne, you might know this, but why would someone have to pay taxes on those houses if they're not being used? Like, if it's a vacant house, if the electric's disconnected, why would it be paying a residential house tax on that? I mean, and maybe we've never considered that, but it really should be considered because I believe that there are a lot of people that are getting stuck with property taxes on houses that are just not, maybe not being inhabitable, but they're certainly not being used. And so they probably should be exempt from taxes as well.
So I think the
Microphone, please.
So I think the current status on that, remembering back a number of years ago, is that the house and an acre around it on farmland is taxable as residential. And just because someone, like the home next to me in a subdivision at one point sold, and there was nobody in it for over a year, it was still taxable on the books as residential. So I think unless the house is torn down, it would continue to be taxed.
Could that be, is that a city or county ordinance, or is that, what is that? Because, yes,
Yeah, well, it's we're under state statute on reassessment, and it says fair market value.
Right.
So, if it's, people aren't living in it, after a while, it's gonna deteriorate, it's gonna be worth less. But, again, the taxation's based on what it's worth, on the fair market value, and to change that, I think you'd have to go to Jeff City.
yeah, because the way I would look at it is if you bought a farm and you bought an existing property next to it, and that house is vacant, they're using zero services. Because they're living in the house next to it, and there's no police, no fire, no school, no nothing. So they really shouldn't have to pay taxes on it. But you're saying that that's not a county issue, that would be a state issue?
That's just like, I've never had kids in a public school. I still pay public school tax for the last 32 years on this house and for the 20
Well, I
years
would agree
before
with
that.
you that you should be exempt. I would agree with that. Yes, okay. Well, anyway, Mike, I was thinking, as me and Mike talked about this, this is pretty long and complicated. Do you think that there should be maybe a work session on this, maybe a half an hour or something, just to go over some of these changes? Because there's a lot of language in here and a lot of things that were changed. Like, you can get wrote up for noxious weeds, okay? And I'm not saying I disagree with that, but if that's the case, the county would be getting tickets all day long on their Johnson grass all over the side of the highways, on the county roads. So, I'm just saying, I mean, the farmers and stuff, so Steve, I'm just saying, I mean.
No, I mean, it's the same thing. That's Johnson grass, there's a state statute on Johnson grass. And we
which
don't
is
really,
That's a noxious weed, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know,
Yeah,
that's my
and we,
point.
you know,
But they're
there's a
finding-
statute
you
says
guys are
we're
gonna-
supposed to do something about it, and.
I
and
know.
I'm not sure we do as much as we ought to, but we're supposed to do
Well,
something.
I know that, but that's, with this here, then you're fining the county on count, I mean, people call me and complain about the Johnson grass gets 5 foot tall, you know, and it's like, so are we gonna, I'm just asking, I mean, are we gonna go around and write tickets to farmers for having Johnson grass, which it is a problem. It's a big problem. But then the county would have to be getting tickets too.
If you have anybody in your district who wants to serve on the Johnson Grass Board, I think there's openings.
But you know what I'm saying? I mean, the county.
There's more than one opening, yeah.
So is it go both ways?
Mike?
So I just want to mention, so the language change, the change in that we're talking about with this property maintenance code, we're actually just mirroring state language. Our language before did not.
But
And
you
so it
don't
caused confusion
don't
with-
pretend to makes that sound good.
No, I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm just telling you that's the change.
Well, we don't
We're not
have-
adding additional regulation or wording
but
about it.
we
We're
don't
just saying,
have to
yeah,
mirror
we're going to
state-
use the same, because we're left to try to enforce that without being able to match it to what that is. So now we can say, what the state says this is a noxious weed, now we can say, yes, that's a noxious weed.
But-
Before, we weren't able to
Okay.
do it, it was confusion.
Okay, but we don't need to mirror state law.
Well, other than it removes the confusion that was there before.
But the
It was
confusion-
impossible to.
Mike,
neg-
but the confusion I see you're creating is a lot more rules and regulations and things like that people in the agriculture area just might like really happy with.
I don't think it applies to agricultural land for
It
the
doesn't.
weeds.
The weeds don't?
No.
Are you sure?
Well,
Yeah.
he would know.
Well, he's not sure. Are you sure, Mike?
I've got a letter.
So.
It didn't say that, did it, Dave?
So there's a provision in our current code that was modified to try to address agricultural property. Agricultural property is generally affected by the weed ordinance. However, there are accessory structures and things that go into it that are allowed to be exempted out based on the use of the property, if it's truly for agricultural use and so on and so forth. Typically, the majority of our weed calls are not in an agricultural setting. They're in a defined subdivision. You know, people on third acre lots where there's a different expectation. So we do our best, you know, when we're working with people in this scenario and what's going on. But typically, our big weed complaints are not found in large scale agricultural areas. As the executive mentioned, there's already a provision for Johnson grass that's at a state level and done at a county level too. So the one thing that Joe's referring to that we modified here is we already had the language of noxious weeds. It was already in our code. All we did was simply define what a noxious weed is, because as you can imagine, everybody, when they don't like what's in their neighbor's yard, everything becomes a noxious weed.
Right.
So to prevent us from running all over the place, we just defined what that was. And so we thought it easiest to go to use the state language of what a noxious weed is, just so that we weren't chasing our tails a lot of the time. So
That was my point.
No, but I mean, on page 17, I don't see it exempt in the agriculture anywhere. It just says any plant currently listed on the Missouri Department of Agriculture's noxious weed. I know that you're saying it's listed on the Department of Agriculture, but I just want to make sure. I guess I can call you, Mike, and ask, but I mean, I just, there's some stuff in here that just seems like more, like a lot of rules.
Here's one thing I would, and this is part of the issue when you are a county government as opposed to a municipal government. You have these areas that are large agricultural areas, and then you have these areas that are basically subdivisions like you would see in municipal. So the example that you were just, and Joanne were just talking about with the house, when we make that policy, you can paint yourself in a pretty bad way when you do a blanket policy, and we've seen this, we've done it to ourselves a lot over the years. You make a policy to address that particular problem, not thinking about the difference of how this is going to affect a large rural agricultural area, and then how it affects basically municipal subdivision area. The house example is a great part of that. And I think our guys, generally speaking, understand we're not going to enforce the same way for a guy who's got a 200-acre farm as we are for a guy who's got a 10,000 square foot lot in a subdivision part. But if we write those laws like what you're talking about to get rid of those weeds, then they're not going to have a club to go after that person who's in that municipal subdivision area to be able to go do that, if I'm just using this particular example. So I think we've got to be careful about how we're going to write those. We've got to be cognizant of the fact that we have both municipal and large rural agricultural. Some of our policies are going to be a little more broad than they would be in a municipality.
Well, I mean, and I agree with you 100%, but you go to the trailers about being registered. Do you know how many agriculture trailers don't have license plates on them? And so, does that exclude agriculture? Like for hauling hay and stuff like that? I mean, those are the things I'm talking about. I mean, so we are to assume that your inspectors are gonna let that stuff go? I mean, that's, if you read that, that's on page 21. I mean, that's what I'm talking about. I mean, are we gonna just say, well, these are the rules, but we're gonna just not apply them to agricultural people?
If there's a
I mean,
question
I'm
there,
just
I'm going to
saying,
answer
you know?
it, but I'm trying to find if there was. What I will say about both of those things that you brought up is that in both of those circumstances, we are amending the language into the code that we previously had. So the charging language of our code has not changed. On the noxious weed example, what we did was we didn't change the language, we just simply added it, we just added a definition in. So to your trailer question, our language, that trailer provision is the same as it has been historically. We have brought that over as an amendment. And as Mr. Elam said, we do our best in an eclectic county to try to understand that we have rules and there's expectations, and that we have different areas in which we try our best, our absolute best, to work with people within those confines. So if, I guess if you have a concern about a specific case or item where that's happened, I'd love to look into it and address it. But more than likely, that hasn't occurred, or hopefully it hasn't occurred, and our enforcement would be the same because the charging language is the same.
No, I understand. It says, you know, the big wagons that haul hay, they don't have plates or lights or nothing on them. They just haul hay, but they're trailers. And so, I don't know. I mean, I don't want to urbanize.
Has it been an issue?
No, it has, but I don't think we've had, this is new.
Well, he said this is the charging language has not changed. So that would tell me that if it hasn't been an issue, then you're working under the same.
No, I know, Mike, but it's right here, right? And I'm just saying if.
He's saying that they just moved that over. So not everything in here is brand new. Some of this has been in play.
But this is
Correct me
bolded.
if I'm wrong.
This is bolded, this is new, this is bolded.
All right, so to try to maybe clear up a little bit of confusion, Rory, feel free to step in. But part of adopting a new code is essentially kind of repealing what was there, right? So everything that we change as we adopt a new code that we put in, even if it's an existing amendment that now we're putting into this code, it's going to be bolded in front of you because it's a change to the code that we're adopting, but it may not necessarily be a code from a change from the last code, but it's going to show up to you as in bold writing because it's a new amendment in this new code that we're adopting, but is not necessarily a new amendment to the county.
It's continuing the previous amendment. Just think of it as, it was an amendment in the old code, it's an amendment in the new code, but it has to show as bold.
Or maybe the best way is that I have the old code in this hand, I have the new code in this hand, and I'm taking the amendment out of the old code and I'm plugging it into the new code. And when I do that, I need to show that as a new amendment to the new code, even though it's something that the county's already had. So it's going to show up as bold to you, any change that we're making in the new code.
Councilman, would it help if maybe what we did is we gave you a copy where we took the portions that are actually new and put them like in a yellow underline or something? Because I don't think there's really hardly anything that, I mean, there's like, what, a half dozen things?
Yeah,
that are
I would
actually
agree
new.
with that. Yeah, I would agree with that.
No, that's fine. Yeah, it just was bolded, and
Yeah,
I'm
I
assuming
get it.
that's all new.
I get it. I get it.
I think one of the things we have to understand too is that we have contracts with some of the other jurisdictions, and it says here, Augusta, Flint Hills, St. Paul, Weldon Springs, they want to see this transition too. It would be helpful for them, even with us working with them. So I've dealt with this before, and upgrading a code always sounds like it's just this terrible thing, but it isn't. It really is just taking what we have already and putting it into probably a newer format.
Yeah.
Updating it. Thank you, gentlemen.
Yes, sir.
And if I may, towards the end, the spreadsheet you guys put together of what the code changes are, I don't know if you've got to that page yet, made it really clear what was happening in a short little brief message that said, no changes, deletion of this. So you really don't need to go through all the old code, you just need to go to that little cheat sheet you guys proposed, and that was nice.
We were hoping.
All right, thank you. That gets us to Bill 5455.
Bill number, or
5445?
Yeah. Bill number.
Oh, sorry.
Five,
It's a
four,
typo. My
four,
bad.
five.
Yes.
An ordinance amending Chapter 500 Building Codes and County Building Commission ordinances of St. Charles County, Missouri by adopting St. Charles County amendments and modifications of relevant standardized codes.
Any new questions?
I just want to let you all know that ISO, which is the Insurance Services Office, rates every building department across the country, and based on your codes and how well-trained your people are, that's how they set certain insurance rates. And in order to maintain the best insurance rates, you have to adopt and update your codes, no more than 2 cycles. So we're actually kind of behind on this, but once we get this adopted, then we'll be back in the top slot where we get the cheapest insurance rates for our citizens. So that's why we're updating codes like every 8 years.
Any other questions? All right, that gets us to announcements and miscellaneous. Mr. Swanson.
Our next meeting will be this coming Monday, December 1st, to change from our normal schedule. Just wanted to make that public.
Stealing my thunder, are you, Mr.
Yes,
President?
sir.
December 6th is the 18th annual Defiance Christmas Parade. Starts at 12, the road closes about 11. A lot of vendors, bounce house for kids, all kinds of good stuff, Santa Claus. So just letting everybody know, come on down.
Mr. Baker.
Yeah, I'm not sure you all seen the Channel 4 did a special on Daniel Boone Park, and I was really impressed with not only the park, but the employees that know all the history and all the particulars about Daniel Boone's home. So good job to them, Ryan, and good job to you. So thank you.
One more thing on that. Ryan, when's the Christmas walk?
First 2 weeks of December, weekends of December.
And the date, the 6th and the, what is it?
Hold, please.
5th, 6th, 12th, and 13th.
All right, if you guys haven't been to the Christmas walk at Daniel Boone Home, you're really missing something. It's really cool. And it's what you talked about, Tim. You go into every little structure and they give you a little store, or a little story of the history, and they got how many thousands of lights, candles, and it's totally cool. And everyone's dressed up in that 1800 dress, and Daniel Boone tells stories, and it's really cool.
And if you want to go, you have to go next year because it's sold out.
Can you send? Can you?
Is it really sold out?
It's how long did it take to sell out?
First week in November, I believe.
Yeah, it's as soon as it went out that first week, it sold out.
Hey,
So, yes.
Kevin or Ryan, could you distribute? Do you have a copy of that video of the news report or the special they did on Channel 4 about that, and send it to everybody? Because maybe I don't know if you all seen it, but it was. Did you all see it?
I didn't.
I saw it. Yeah.
It was impressive. It really was.
We can send you a link. It's on our Facebook page, too.
Okay.
All right, anything else for the good of the cause? Just a quick reminder, as Mr. Swanson said, our meeting is moved to next Monday. In December, rather than being the second and last, we are the 1st and 3rd. So we will be the 1st and the 15th of the month for our meetings. The two bills that we read for introduction will not be voted on, so you have time for questions. It will not be voted on next Monday because it has to be on the calendar for 2 weeks, so we will take those two bills up and vote on those on the 15th. Yes?
Mr. Chairman, I'm gonna ask Rory to do some research for the next meeting and let us know, let you all know what you can do about your rules to make sure people can't come to that mic and just talk about anything they want to. I think that's very important.
Yeah, just clarity would be good, just to understand exactly what we have at that point. With that, I wish everyone a good Thanksgiving.
Here, here.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion.
We're adjourned. Good luck catching the train.
Good job, Bob.
When I was reading that bill,